Live from their living rooms, it's The Director's Chair with Stanton Welch.
Hello everybody, this is Stanton Welch from Houston Ballet and we're here with another vlog, and today we have with us Allison Miller. How are you, Allison?
I'm good, very good.
Keeping yourself busy during this quarantine?
Yes, I am a busybody and I've been able to keep that up pretty well staying at home.
You make your own clothes sometimes. Have you made a whole wardrobe?
I actually have not, because I don't have a lot of fabric here and I can't bring myself to buy fabric online. I have done it a little bit, but it takes about 2 weeks to get in, and it's just, so I've been altering some projects that I've, had in the back of my mind for a long time, or I made a couple of shirts and a pair of shorts, but nothing major.
Transformations.
Some transformations, exactly.
So just for our audience to get to know you a little bit better, can you first of all tell us where you're from? And when was the moment that you decided that ballet or dancing was your career, your vocation?
I grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida, and I didn't start ballet till I was about 8, which is sort of late, for a dancer. I was doing gymnastics because my older sister did that, and I had to quit because I would cry every time we went. They were too mean. But the activity that I ended up doing, ballet, is not much nicer. I just loved it so much that it really stuck. I think I was about 15 when I realized, like I could do this. I had a teacher who saw that in me and helped me figure out how to get there.
And then you went to New York straight from Florida, or was there a school in between?
In between. I went to North Carolina School of the Arts for my sophomore and junior years of high school. And I met a lot of wonderful teachers who helped me then move forward to going to ABT Studio Company in New York. I went there during what would have been my senior year of high school at 17 years old, so it was wild.
Yeah, pretty intense to move to New York at that age and
yeah.
be by yourself. And the studio company is a pretty intense world. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, I knew that the kids, I'm going to call them kids, we were children. I knew the kids in the group with me were talented. And it was interesting to kind of be thrown into that where maybe I wasn't the best one in the group anymore. That was like a big moment for me to realize, wow, like there's a lot of talent out there. Now the dancers I was with are principals in ABT and, huge freelancers all over. It's amazing to look at where everybody's gone now from that small group and how successful everybody is. Knowing how talented, there's so much raw talent in that group, So that's been really fun to watch everybody kind of grow up and be so successful.
And you went in that company, as the studio company, you went off and did your own performances too, right?
Yes. So there would be 12 of us, about 6 boys, 6 girls. We would do tours in the Northeast, around New York City, Connecticut, Maine. My first international trip was with them to London, and that was really exciting to perform at a tiny theater in London. We went to Bermuda, performed in like some hotel, small stage. There's lots of, random little performances.
And what was the repertoire you took?
We worked with some amazing people. And actually that was the first time that I ever got to be in a studio to create with, that wasn't just like a ballet dance piece. So I worked with Sean Curran, who's totally modern dance. Benjamin Millipied was just getting started. Brian Reeder, who was, let's see, who else? Dominic Walsh was a connection I made there. And later again in Houston, Jessica Lang.
So yeah,
wow. It was really, I met Meryl Ashley for the first time there working on Divertimento. She set that on us. So lots and lots of connections. It was a really neat time.
And how long were you there for?
Just 2 years.
Okay.
So kind of after 2 years, they figure out if they want you in the company or if they're going to help you go elsewhere.
Well, I remember getting a phone call about you and a high recommendation, and we invited you down, I think, for the summer. Is that right? Or was it?
So yes, the summer, after my second year in studio company, it was pretty clear by then I wasn't going to be in ABT, and that was pretty crushing because that's, I grew up watching the videos and, dancing with Paloma Herrera in my living room. So it was hard to say, okay, I can still do this somewhere else. And I had a contract for Washington Ballet in my hands, but there's something funny about it. They were having AGMA negotiations at the time, and I just had a weird feeling. And so I declined that contract, and I said, okay, I'll go to Houston Ballet summer program. I had been in 2003 while I was at North Carolina School of the Arts. I decided I would just come to the summer program, dance really hard, get really good, and then I'd figure it out. And that's where you hired me. And
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty instant. I think we were a little bit more set up than that than you might realize. I think it was Clinton, right? Was he your ballet master? Yeah. So
yes.
he worked on Clear with me a lot. So when he called, he talked very, very highly of you. And I think as soon as you got there, we knew that it was the right move. So talk a little bit about, for a young dancer, when you leave a school and you join a company for the first time, it's a big transition, and you join ensemble work and you have your responsibilities are different. What, if you could go back and talk to your younger self, or if you could explain to a young dancer, what would you say or recommend for them to focus on or do?
For me, even in studio company, there were 12 of us. So when I came into Houston Ballet and had to learn, the corner girl in the core, it was just like a total brain shift. And it took me a while to figure out like how to be responsible for myself. How do you figure out how to know all of the spots? It was a different, you don't practice that in school when you're being pushed as, the lead girl, you get to do Black Swan pas de deux or whatever. That's something that is kind of missing. And then you get into a company and have to sort of figure that out and then figure out how to grow from there,
Was there a trick?
No.
Hard work.
Hard work, exactly. There's no ballet, it's just hard work.
And talk a little bit about dancing in an ensemble as a lady, because there's such a responsibility in it that so many of our repertoire, our biggest, most important ballets, have whole acts of just women dancing in an ensemble. It's thrilling. I remember in the Australian Ballet, we toured New York with Giselle, and my most memorable moment was not on stage, but was watching the girls finish that quarter ballet dance, and the audience went crazy for them because there was such a power in that. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that feels like?
I just got chills from you talking about it. There's something, and I don't know how to explain it, but I don't know if it's just like girl power, but when you get in sync with all these people without any words, and you're just like so on the same page, you have the orchestra, you've got the steps. I just am especially thinking like Shades or something like that,
yeah.
That you have to be so tuned into yourself and the orchestra and all the girls around you. I don't know. It's like an extra sense you have to have. And some people don't have it, and that can be a little crazy. But
it's true.
Yeah. There's just there's nothing like it. Yeah.
And there's something also like in Shades to talk about that is the material is also extremely difficult. Simple, but the simplicity of it and the ensemble is the pressure, is not being the person who's not right.
Exactly. You don't want to be that one.
Good. So can you, in your career, and you've been now with the company for a while, talk about a role that meant a lot to you. When was a first big role that came along where you went, wow, this is a big deal?
I think for me, that's probably Snow Queen and Ben's Nutcracker. I had covered it. I can't remember now if it was my second year or my third year that I got to finally perform it. And I had been a cover and worked on it and, you know, watched people that I idolized doing it. So to finally get the chance to do my version of it on stage, it felt like a big break for me. And I don't know if I had one show of it that year, but I remember I danced with Connor and he was an excellent partner. And so it was really exciting and not as scary as it could have been.
Yeah. And that's a hard version. I mean, Ben's The Snow Queen has a lot of material, exhausting.
Yeah. So to be able to put myself in front of the audience like that, it was so much fun. Yeah, it's great.
And talk a little bit about that, about your relationship with a partner. Is it, what is special about that? I mean, you dance with many different people and they're all quite different, correct?
Mm-hmm. I was actually thinking about this. There's another question I was sort of thinking about. I've had boys swap in and out like the day of a show because of injuries or whatever. And it's different to dance with each of the guys. You sort of have different chemistry with their personalities or whatever it is, or their style of partnering. You
and
have
musicality.
to make, yeah. Yes, you have to agree on certain things like musicality step or how many turns to do, how to do the turn. There's a lot of little negotiations that nobody has any idea about. Yeah. So you can't just swap a boy in and go on stage. It's more complicated than that. Yeah.
Well, then that brings me actually to my next question, which was about being thrown on. I think all dancers have in our lives a chance where you get switched to another side in a role, or you have a new partner and you have minutes. I mean, I certainly had that half-hour conversation before the show in the evening. There's an adrenaline, but there's also a freedom to it, right? Can you talk about any moments like that? Was there something like that that you thought, oh, that was crazy or fun or wow?
One that I can think of, I had to get thrown into dryads at an outdoor performance of Dun Q. I think somebody got in a car accident or something, and there's a whole trickle effect, and I wasn't supposed to be in it, and I had to go into a spot I didn't know. One that was a little more scary than that was for Project Reach the first time around. One of the girls hurt her hamstring and couldn't be in Oliver's piece. Right. And I was sort of familiar with it, but I wasn't learning the part at all. And it was the morning of the show that I figured out I had to learn this whole dance to do that night of hundreds of people. Poor Oliver. Luckily, Tyler had taken excellent notes and like taught it to me. But that was pretty terrifying to not quite know what you're doing, not know if you're entering at the right time or if it's going to work out. And I remember for the second performance, Oliver said, maybe tonight you can do the arms that are the choreography.
Oh, yeah. But we all have experiences like that.
Yes, but you're right. There is a freedom to it. It's like, hey, I'm here and I'm going to do this as well as I can.
Yeah.
See what happens.
So is there a trick to learning fast like that? Like I used to, before a show, have to go through the whole ballet in the shower, and then I had all this routine before I got to the performance. What, do you have a routine? How do you learn fast, and what's your routine before the show?
I have trouble learning fast. I think I get hung up on details. So I'm kind of like you. I need to go through all of it and make sure that it's like set in my body. That is my most helpful way. So when I have to learn something quickly or go in, I get really freaked out because I haven't had the time to like really like study it. Again, not a trick, just a lot of repetition.
How early before a show do you come?
It depends on the part. The more scared I am, the earlier I go. Yeah. Yeah. I'd say max is like an hour and a half. I try to not freak out too soon in the day, which is hard. But yeah, it only takes so long to put the makeup on in your hair.
Yeah. And you can wear yourself out sometimes.
Yes, is exactly. Doing what I like to do, which is going over everything.
Yeah.
Until the curtain goes up.
So you mentioned Oliver's ballet, and we have a lot of choreography here in the company. Can you talk about that experience? Why was it fun to make a ballet with Oliver or any of the ballets that we make? What draws you to that? What is fun about that?
it's fun when somebody sees something in you and they want to put their interpretation back on you. That's what was really neat about working with Oliver. He knows me so well. He knows the things that I like to do. And then he also came up with stuff that would challenge me personally.
Yeah.
So that's fun about working with you. Also the same kind of thing. You know us so well that you know how to challenge each of us.
I think challenge is important, don't you? I mean, that's a thrill. Yeah.
Totally. And that's one of the things that I like about ballet. I love the structure of it and that there's so many rules and like ways to do it correctly. I really like that challenge. It never backs down. You know, it's always there.
For me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think very much that even in this difficult time, it's the challenges of how to keep creating, what to do, like how do we find our way, but within our structure, that's kind of the thrill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even just being at home, the other things I like to do besides dancing, the baking, the sewing, crafting things, it's about like, can I do this? Like, how can I do this the best to get to this end result? I don't know. It's like a common thread in all the things that I like.
Yeah. The pursuit of perfection.
Yes.
And you can never get it, but you can create excellence on the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So one more question. So I've been asking everybody, oh, actually it's two more questions. Tell us a moment on stage where you really lost yourself into the character or into the performance and it was thrilling, like where you have that out of body experience as a dancer and you're sobbing at the end or you're laughing at the end, and give us one of your special moments like that.
I think there's a lot of characters. This is a little more abstract. When we were in Paris dancing with Lang Lang, that was like one of the most, not just a moment, but like the whole experience, the whole dance. You were doing the solo on stage with this amazing pianist, and the way he was pushing us with his crazy musicality, the fact that we were there, the audience was so into having us, and I was extra emotional then because I had just gotten engaged. So
well, it wasn't a bad view, right?
Sorry?
It's not a bad view to get engaged and perform.
No, it wasn't. It was like, yeah, I think everyone kind of, yeah, exactly. So it was just like this whole, it was amazing to be there. And then that happened. And it was just like, yeah, those shows were really special.
And I felt like there was such an amazing chemistry between him and all of you and the audience. It's such a famous theatre full of history, and you felt so close and so intimate. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So this is the last question that I've asked everybody, and we all struggle with trying to explain it, but I want to talk about that connection we have with our audience, that when you're there with a live audience and you can feel them, and that energy that we share with each other and the noises they make or don't make. What does it feel like to bow? What does it feel like? What is that bond that's so special?
It's funny you say, what does it feel like to bow? That's one of my favorite things now. Like that moment after the show when you feel like you did a really good job and you get to spend that moment just kind of looking out at them. Yeah, it depends. I mean, if it's a really dramatic ballet like Menon or Romeo and Juliet, you can feel them with you there, you know, wanting to know what's going to happen next, or, you know, in that moment, you really can feel that energy. I don't know. It's like they give it to us and we have to give it back. It's like, there's no way to explain it.
Tennis.
It's like tennis. But then also, you know, if it's something that's just exciting dance and you know, it's a stamina push and they can feel that energy, you know, rather than the end of the coda when you're like barely gonna make it and they're there with you, like rooting you on, that's what makes it happen. I don't know. There's nothing like that.
There's definitely, when a dancer's really, I mean, Ballo is a great example. When someone's dancing with such difficult precision that there's an energy that builds with the audience too, that they thrive on your achievement.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And you feel that.
You do. We miss it.
I like that. It is. It's like tennis. That's a nice way to say it.
Or a conversation. You have to. There's definitely all of this going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's very nice to see you, and thank you for having the chat. And
Oh.
I'll see you tomorrow, probably.
Okay.
On
Sounds good.
Zoom.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Alison.